of the wisdom keeper of the Zuni Pueblo Indian tribe in New Mexico. He's an active in the Zuni orders of the Kachina. Kachinas are star people. Okay? Galaxy Medicine Society, Sun Clan leadership. He has been led by his ancestors to share their extraordinary lost history, including experiences with the ancient inner earth, ant people, inner earth humans, and light beings of the Star Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Clifford Mahooty.
Good morning. I say good morning or good afternoon. I don't care. I just want to thank Thunderbeat for inviting me again and the gang here. As you probably know, most of you know me. I'm a Zuni Pueblo Indian, and I belong to the. I'm also an AI for American Indian, and I think today that I don't have any PowerPoint, so it's going to be a heart-to-heart chat, and I think that this is more in my way of from back in the old days when I was going through my teachings. It's all like in the old grandfather and grandmother days where when they set you down in the middle of the kiva or in the house, and they start quizzing you about what they had taught you up to a certain point. So this morning I want to start out by talking about the Indian parable, which I talk about in a lot of my presentations. It's about the way back when the Creator was looking for ways to get something for the humans, and he gathered all the animals, and he talked to them, and he said, I want to hide something from the humans until they are ready for it. The realization that they create their own reality. So the ego says, I'm going to go take it to the moon. He said, they'll never find it there. They said, oh no. He said, they'll find it there. So then they said, the salmon says, I take it to the bottom of the ocean. They'll never find it there. He said, oh yeah, they'll find it there. And so the buffalo says, no, I'll take it to the plains. I'll bury it in the plains and they'll never find it there. And all this time, Grandma Mole was sitting there, just like, it reminds me of my grandmother, sitting there. They said, oh, no. He said, I know where to put it, that they'll never find it. He said, Creator says, where? He said, put it inside of them. Because they'll never find it and they really need it. So I think that this presentation today is based upon what my teachings have been for a number of years. I'm one of those very fortunate individuals that took the spiritual training in the technological world. Training, I'm a retired scientist, civil engineer, environmental specialty and all that. But what I have learned throughout, I'm 77 years old. And so what I have learned is that throughout my whole teachings and my experiences, I have come to my own conclusion that technology and spirituality were one and the same in the beginning. And it took me many, many years of not only testing it, or maybe question it, or whatever it is, but when I started looking at it from what I have observed throughout the years, this is what really is very intriguing. We're only scratching the surface of what is really ahead in this new age that we're going into. And the other thing too is that the ways that we're going to go through there, we're not going to look back like a lot of people are saying, is that we're going to go back to the normal. There's no such thing, because we're now going into an entirely different way of living, way of life than what we have seen. What we have gone through for a whole year is a bump in the spiritual road. It had a chance to sit down and try to talk with each other and see where we're at. And a lot of illustrations that I use in my presentation is the triangle, and also the phrase that I use is the stop, look, and listen. Because the triangle is one of the most stable forms of a structure. Being a structural engineer, I can use that as an example. But what I'm going into now, looking at it from this point on, is that we all have to look at it in terms of ourselves, our reality. We've had a chance to review it, even though maybe we were not doing it actively. Like I have been stagnated for a whole year. But at the same time, I should have sat down and written my book, which I've been trying to do. But at the same time, I was having a lot of thinking from many different sources. And the only reason that I looked at the media was to see how crazy the world is getting every day. And it is really, really crazy. And what I am going to talk about today is based upon some of the things that has happened within a year. And I would like to start out by this meeting that we're having. The theme of it is cosmic awakening. I think that most of us have already been through that phase, but I want to continue it on with the cosmic awareness. When you wake up in the morning, you hear a bird sing, the sunlight is there, and you're waking up. And the next thing is that like I usually do, say, where the hell am I at this morning? And that's when you become aware of what you had just gone through in the dream stage, or what I call is spiritual downloading. And then you come back to the 3D world, or the reality of saying that now we got to become aware of what is happening. So the theme that I have always discussed is the spiritual warrior mode that we all have to go into. We are all equipped from the day we're born with that type of resistance when we know that something is not right. It's only in ways that we are conditioned or indoctrinated that we lose that touch. In my reservation Indian days, I was born out there in the Indian world that we didn't have electricity, we didn't have any running water, we didn't have any connection to other outside world except what we were with our ancestral knowledge. But we only went to the white man's school for maybe about 3 or 4 hours a day. So we were connected with nature, or at least I was. And so you learn how to be very, very open to a lot of things. Somebody asked me one day, have you seen any flying saucers? I said, yeah. I said, well, how many have you seen so far? They said, well, by the time I was 30 years old, I said, I probably saw about 500. So these are the things that you see when you're out there in the middle of nowhere. And so that's when you start your spiritual training, so to speak, because we had what we call a communalistic society, and also the teachings are also communalistic, which is survival. And one of the biggest element or the factor in this is the connection with spirit, connection with Mother Nature, of course, that's part of spirituality. So we have known for, or at least my people have known for thousands and thousands of years about this type of connections in terms of spirituality and how to take care of each other and how to deal with anything that comes down the road or whatever. And we have always talked about star people. You go to any Aboriginal tribe on the planet, all those tribes have a connection to the star people. And in Zuni, we call them the raw people. Excuse me, let me oil my throat. Too bad it's not tequila. And I tell you more stuff. Yeah, I kind of went away from PowerPoint because, PowerPoint sometimes gets me, starts looking at the picture and I start wondering, did I do this the right way? So if I talk from the heart, it's a lot better. Well, anyway, go back to the spiritual route that I'm talking about. We're all taught like that. We are, all you folks sitting in there, we have that element or that factor in all of it. It's part of our DNA. The only trouble is that we have seen within, up to this point, is that we have been indoctrinated because there's a purpose for that. Is to keep us, I guess, stupid in a way, to keep us not aware of what we are, and so this bombardment is going on. The first TV set that I saw was when I was back in the 60s when we first started getting TV. At that time, and this was scientifically proven later, there's only one beam of light that goes through the screen. And in those days, they called it subliminal mechanisms that go into your brain. And since it starts doing that to you, then your brain starts picking those up. And we're downloaded with all this garbage every day. And I knew about these things. It's the same way with other things that they feed you. You know, I grew up on a farm. We did all our farming, but when I first got to knowing about other foods, how they make them, and so this is entirely, that's what's happening right now. It's really, really have gotten to the point where all this, the feeding of not only the mind, but our body has made us so immune to the truth. So I put together a lot of little notes here about if we're going to go into this new age or this new era that's coming down, we got to get rid of our habits or whatever we were taught. And we got to focus on the new things that are coming. There's nothing new under the sun. It repeats itself. History repeats itself. Remember that saying from the philosopher George Santayana? Remember when he said, those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it? I have always stressed that because that was stressed to me way back in my early teachings. I didn't really know that, but there was also in these other philosophers throughout the world. But so I chose this talk today of a spiritual warrior because we are now going to go into a realm of events before we go into the coming good life. The Hopi, the Zuni, and others talk about the end of this fourth world. It's not the end of the world like the earth disappearing or blowing up like it did in the past. What it means is that we're going to go into a sort of like a shift of a different way of thinking. And so we have to get rid, it's like a snake shedding its skin every year, or an owl molting the feathers. We got to get rid of all of that things in order to come back out with brand new feathers on, brand new skin, and whatever needs to combat things that in the coming world. Now, the reason I call it combat is because unfortunately, and I talk about this on a lot of my YouTube presentations, is that there has been we're now at the height of what I call in my presentations the dark force people that are trying to convert all of us. And we have seen that in the past. We know about it in the past. All the civilizations, the great civilizations, they have usually a time limit of 500 years. United States of America is now at the 500-year level. If you look at it from the standpoint of 1500, is when the Spanish first came here. My tribe was the first tribe that met the Spanish in 1540. So we got about another 20 years for the end of this 500-year cycle. If you read Leo Tolstoy, he talks about a lot of those events. If you look at some of the greatest civilizations in the world, the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Chinese dynasties, if you look at it, the 500-year mark is here. So what happens after this time, and the American Indians know about is the way that it is presented. If you look at the Hopi Prophecy Rock, there's a story on that one. In the Zuni version of it is that we're now at the end of the cat's tail. We started out in 1955 when the medicine men, which the order I belong to, stated that we are now at halfway of the cat's tail. And he said, how long is it going to be the next one? We do not know because they haven't told us yet. So we all Indian Aboriginal tribes and all American Indian tribes and our brothers to the north and south, we're all connected in the same type of teachings, but we have been put aside for all of those type of words. And I am probably one of the first of the Pueblo people who have actually come out and talked like this, and I knew what was happening, what was going to happen to me, but that's okay. But I think that because we're all in it together, because we're on the same planet. We're all, the star people, when they first put all the systems on the planet here, I have studied volumes of other works that are of other Aboriginal people. There is not one passage, not one word in there, anything about hatred, discrimination, about different colors. All our medicine songs, chants, prayers are nothing but love, respect for Mother Earth, and to love each other regardless of what color we are, where we come from, because we're of one family called the human family. So this is what I have been working toward, and it's more clearer now than what I started to do when I was a little kid. I started my training when I was probably barely walking. So my grandmothers and grandfathers are no longer here, but they're still in connection with me. And it's really interesting what's happening right now in this whole paradigm shift that we're going through. There are becoming more connection to us as people that are on that road, the spiritual path. And there's a lot of star kids that are coming in there, on the planet from many, many different groups, all colors, all nationalities, all languages. And so this is the reason why we're going through in this effort, that is what the dark force people are trying to get us through, to fall right now, and they're not going to win. I said this a year ago when COVID first started, and it's out there, but they cut it out because it was too harsh. They would, some of the people that I work with on the networks, on the internet, they had to take him off because they said it was too harsh, because I made the theory about what happened or what will happen. So, but it's on, we're going to present it. I have my webmaster here today, and we're going to start working on that because we just started that this past year. So that way it's all information that nobody will try to kick it out or, ban it. So that will be coming from not only me, but other people like myself, not only from the United States, but Canada, Mexico, and other countries. Just for information now. Now let me go back to all the other things too. The way I look at it is that old term about birds of a feather. We're all here because we are interested in what we are supposed to be doing and which way we're headed. No man is an island. That was my first teachings, was that we will teach you the best we know how. If there's other things that you want to know, you go ask another person. So this is what we are. We don't hold anything back. But unfortunately, in the last 100 years at least, all our things have been taken away from us. The American Indian community at large. And my last 15 years when I was in the federal service, my job was to make sure that all the Indian tribes got their sacred items back, that their sacred sites were well preserved. But it's coming back. And there are some things that are happening, like the lady said this morning, that behind the scenes type things that's going on. And the reason that these dark force people think that they're going to eliminate all of our free will, it's not going to happen. Because at some point, it's like the thermodynamic term I like to use is that we are at maximum entropy, which means that we're all in all directions, but there will be some people or some person or some being or whatever will come on the scene. And we were going toward that. I work with a lot of groups. The first disclosure was going to happen this year. And this is why, if you remember way back about a year ago, almost a year ago maybe, when the United States Space Force was created, that was the first step. So it's on hold right now, but they're still working on it. But so this is what's happening, and I think that the reason that we need to look at each other on ourselves now is because you have to believe in yourself. Don't listen to anybody else of what they say. Now I was very, very straightforward about 4 or 5 years ago when I first started out doing this thing, is that they're lying to you. And I started out with the false flag events that happened way back as John F. Kennedy assassination. I was my second year in college when that happened. And when all the way up through there, the latest one, the one that we were quite involved was 9/11. If you look at some of the YouTube videos that I have, I give a very detailed account of what happened. And the way that we got the information was we got it directly from our star people, star ancestors. We got the word directly through very high order medicine in the Kachina. Remember, he said the Kachinas are space people. It was during the combination of the Kachina and the medicine working together at that time when the Star Brothers came and told us what was going to happen. This was the shortest time in our history. They were shown that on this summer solstice. And it was only and then September 11, 9/11. It's only less than 3 months. That was the shortest in history. So we still have that connection. And what is happening right now is that there's a lot of work that's been going on right now with our brothers up in the other side. And you will find, most of you that are here, there's going to be an increase of your dream stage world. You're going to start connecting like it was for real that you're there. And you'll be starting to talk to those people that you never ever met probably in your life, and also your people that you had that went away or passed away, but they'll be different type because they're still younger. And then some of them don't even look like them, but they can talk to them. You can talk to them. So this is what's happening throughout a lot of people that I have been talking with. So this is what I wanted to pass on with while I'm here, rather than just give you a PowerPoint presentation of how great I am and all that stuff. I had a joke, but I don't know if it's going to. They're going to. You remember all that thing that's happening about the Skinwalker Ranch? I was gonna next time I go up there to a big meeting, maybe when Contacting the Desert opens up, I'm going to tell them that they finally discovered what the skinwalkers are. The skinwalkers out there at Skinwalker Ranch were, they kept it. The military captured a bunch of them the other night, and they'll say, "Well, how come I didn't hear about it?" I say, "Well, because it's top secret, man." So is it when they caught those guys, and you know what? They're not sure if they were the real skinwalkers, because usually a skinwalker wears a coyote skin uniform, or a wolf, or a dog, or something that crawls on, is fierce and has fur and all that. They say, well, they caught a whole bunch of skinwalkers, but none of those guys were wearing those type of uniforms or their skins. And you say, well, then the guy asked, he said, what kind of skins were they wearing? I said, oh, they were. It's really kind of funny. They were wearing donkey and elephant skins. So I said they were going to take him to Gitmo, but they're still working on Gitmo for the next election. But so one of the generals said, "Hey, we already got a facility over there." And he said, "Where?" He said, "On the East Coast. It's already got a barbed wire fence around it." He said, and so when they finally took him over there, the skinwalker guys were put in there, and they found out that there was a whole stack of those donkey and elephant uniforms in the rotunda. Anyway, they'll probably get me for that. What the heck? Black helicopters. No, this is, see, I talk with a lot of my Indian brothers. They're now coming out to talk. They're willing to talk now. I think the reason that they're doing that is because they're also getting frustrated because of the things that are happening on their reserves. They call them reserves up in Canada, and they're calling reservations over here in the United States. And there is so much activity. You probably heard that before Trump was kicked out or cheated out of his office. Remember, he passed that legislation where they put a lot of money in to find out where all the American Indian women were missing from all the reservations. And I get calls just about almost every other day from different tribes trying to get me to help them look for some of these missing persons. And it's really weird out there because they live out there in the wilderness. They live out there in places where there's no roads. If you look at the Navajo reservation, they got miles and miles of nothing out there. You go up to the north in Canada, they're out there in the mountains. And so this is what I think what's happening is that there's an effort to eliminate a lot of these people that still own use of those lands. The reservation lands, there's no land that belongs to an Indian. No Indian owns any land. And so a lot of the reservations will be converted into the new settlements, what they did way back in World War II when they made internment camps for the Japanese. They even sent them down into the Grand Canyon. They were down there with the Havasus. So that's the only real estate left that are miles and miles of it. So we all know what is happening. It's still under the Hillary's program. Hillary was supposed to come take those Indian reservations and make them into residences for the new wave of which is now happening. So it's been in the mill since for a long time. And actually started with Eisenhower when he passed the Indian Termination Act. I was talking about that this morning. So it's been the biggest group that has been attacked is the American Indian community at large. And having worked with all the Indian tribes, the one thing that is really keeping them in a way of not doing anything drastic or bad is because of their spirituality. But they also start breaking that about 200 years ago. Our Pueblo people in New Mexico no longer have the full practice of spiritualism because the Catholics took over those tribes. I got nothing against other religions, but they converted that way. But we're all coming back, and this new wave of speakers that are coming in are the younger people, and they're star people. I will be on my way next Thursday to Florida. There's a group that's going all over the country. And we've also got plans for a lot of these meetings to start talking directly to the general public about what they have held back for some years. So the spiritual path has to be, when we're going down that path, we have to start bringing in other folks, because it's just like, remember the old example of how you make things strong. You take one straw, you can bend it and break it. But if you took a whole bunch of straws together, you can't break it, type thing. The same philosophy. So what we're going to do is that they're going to start talking more about what they have kept quiet for years. This whole thing that we're going through right now with telling us to put masks on and fighting each other and changing the definitions of words, that's not going to go, because we have free will. And the question comes about too is that, well, if the star people are our brothers and sisters, and how come they're not here to come over and rescue us? They're not going to do that, because we have the free will. We can ask for their guidance and we can connect with them, but they're not going to do it for us. We have to do that, because that's what was the thing in the beginning that was created like that. The Kachina people, if you go back and look at the YouTube and look for my name and look at Kachinas, you will find the exact thing about who they are. We are the aliens, the original aliens that used to be among the American Indian communities were star people or aliens, and they became Kachinas. And so they would not come here in their way, so we represent them. They come here in spirit. They're here right now. They're here, but they're invisible. And so that's the way it is. I'll give you a good example. How many people have cats? You remember? The cat will be sleeping there, and all of a sudden pops up his head, his eyes dilate, he's watching something going across there. And he's watching those aliens walking around in your house. You know, that when my grandmothers told me that, I said, you're just lying to me, you know. And they come around, you know, a lot of times they used to, you know, Bigfoot used to come to my house. I live up in Camp Verde. I live in the riverbed. Bigfoot came to my house one time and he was banging on my door, and he said, get out of here, I just want to go to sleep. And I thought it was, you know, so about 2 weeks later, my son came over here, and right there in front of my house, and he came up there and said, hey, he said, you have a Bigfoot that come to your house. And I thought it was just like, you know, just come over in spirit or whatever, but they actually come around. But I know about those people because I have had encounters with them, and they're all connected. Every time you see a flying saucer, you'll always see a Bigfoot. You see an alien guy, you'll see a Bigfoot. Yeah, they're all connected. But that's another story. So anyway, so I think that right now, I think that I have enough time. Do any of you have any questions? Comments? Yeah? Yeah, the ant people, the ant people connection is really told by the Hopi people, because the first group of American Pueblo Indians exposure were the Hopi people, basically for the simple reason that the railroad came through by the Grand Canyon, and the highway system, remember the cartoon cars, you know, Holbrook and all those other places. So and they were the first ones to come out with a lot of these stories, more so than the Pueblo Indians in New Mexico. The Zuni and the Hopi have parallel systems. Their languages are different, but all the Pueblos are there's about 5 languages. You got the Hopi, Zuni, Tewa, Tiwa, and Kiris. And we all talk in our languages for certain occasions, whether it's medicine practice, whether it's social dances, Kachina dances. The Kachinas actually, their home is in Zuni. well, close to Zuni. So on the ant story, when the last Earth was, they call it flip over, when it changed polarity, the people had to survive somehow, so they went inside the Earth somewhere. And inside the Earth are a lot of different forms of beings. Two of the basic beings in there are the ants. They look like the ant people, or tall and short. There's two species. The red ones are the shorter ones, and no, it's the other way around. The red ones are the taller ones, and the shorter ones are sort of like pale, translucent types, and also the praying mantis types are also part of that system, and those are the ones that control the DNA. And so after the flood receded, because the last one was destroyed by a flood, and the prediction is the next one will be destroyed by fire. So, but after being there for no one knows how long, the ant people took care of the I call it the archaeo humans, because they were not like we are today. So that story or that legend is in like the Pueblo people. And the emergence of the Hopi and the Zuni and the Coconino tribes, and some of them are still down there, called the Havasupai, which is the group that is over here at the Yavapai. So that story is about them saving the humans and to nurture them while they were still inside, away from the above on the surface of the earth. So that's a real long story. So that's in our legends, it's in our practices, and it's in our prayer systems. My house in Zuni was actually the center of the Ant Society people. And there's also a medicine society called the Ant people. And Zuni and Hopi and all these other people use that. So if you look at, again, go back to the YouTube and look for my name, and there's a whole, I think, an hour presentation of the Ant people. You can find that. Next question. Well, the people that live here in Sedona, no, they just have different, some of them have different callings. Some of them are, a lot of them are curious. And because of maybe they're searching for certain things, and because what happened is that the education system of this country, and also the ways that we were fed a lot of stuff, they have to look for themselves, and this happened to be the mecca for all these different things. There's a lot of vortices here. This used to be the meeting place of a lot of different tribes from the Pacific, from Mexico, clear over to Chaco. In the old days, the Chaco to Mexico City was a wide lane, like highways. The Americans destroyed those when they first got here. And Google Earth took a whole bunch of them way back in the 80s when Google first came out. You can see it's from Chaco and other places where they had it. But no, I don't think that they're crazy. You can be crazy anywhere you can be. Doesn't make any difference. And I hope I'm not. I live down here. You mean the United States government? Well, they found a lot of stuff. If you look at the Grand Canyon, we did one on the expedition to Sipapu where they pulled out all the Egyptians and the Buddhist artifacts and all that. So we went over there and asked Smithsonian what they did with it. And you know what they did? Tell us they did the same thing they did with Osama bin Laden's body. They dumped it in the ocean. Can you imagine dumping a solid gold statue about that high in the ocean? No, the reason, based upon my studies, is that the reason that any conquering nation of another nation, the first thing that they do is to get rid of their records. That's the common thing that they first do. The second thing that they do is they destroy the land, so nothing will grow, not knowing that they'll go back there. Well, that's what happened during Roman times. The Romans used to go over there, and when they conquered a land, they put salt in it. So, but later on, they went back there. They couldn't grow anything because they put salt in there. Same thing. We have our own records of Chaco. You know, I did a presentation on Chaco. Don't ever believe that that giant kiva was a kiva. We didn't have kivas in those times. There's no need for kivas. They call them kivas up in Mesa Verde. They were not kivas. They were storage bins, and they were also a engineering system for environmental control. And there were shafts that went over there, and they were supply centers, not only for water, food, but for fuel. So those are not, we didn't have kivas until later on, after the Star people let us run our own show here. My presentation on Chaco is that the great kiva was a spaceport. And that there is absolutely no dump site at Chaco. There are no burial sites at Chaco, and there are very few artifacts. That Bandelier National Park is the biggest portal of the Milky Way galaxy. Medicine people, that's where our deities came through. Chaco, according to my interpretation of songs, chants, prayers, history, Chaco used to be the center for the healing arts, which were all tribes would go there, learn the modalities from the sky people to take care of the humans and the land. So it was a university. People laughed at me, and I said, well, give me a better answer than that. So there's a lot more that is there, but they won't let us. So thank you very much. One more. So spiders? There's all kinds of people that are related to different animals. My time's up, so let me tell you one thing. I'll be here all weekend, so you can go to my lecture hall. It's under that tree.